Hey guys, so now we're going to do question number 4 for the identifying multiple variables in graphs worksheet. So number 4 says, base your answer to the question on the graphs below and on your knowledge of Earth science. The climate graphs represent data for 3 different locations in North America. Line graphs show the average monthly air temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit. But so I'm seeing that the line graphs are monthly air temperatures in degrees Fahrenheit. Bar graphs show the average monthly precipitation in inches. So I see bar graphs in each location, and it's showing the precipitation, which is the amount of rain or types of rain in inches. And the circle dot indicates each location on the map. So here are my circle dots. They all represent a different location in the North American continent. That's what the climate graphs represent. Okay, so A says, explain what each of the following components of the maps are representing. Climate graphs, line graphs, bar graphs, circle dot. So I'm just gonna break down what I see in my description into different components so I can break down the graph easier. So climate graphs from my paragraph says they represent data for 3 different locations in North America. So these graphs are showing data for 3 different locations in North America. My line graphs show the average monthly temperatures. So I'm just going to write average monthly temperatures. You don't have to include the units in your description of what the graph is representing. That's extra information for now. Bar graphs represent the average monthly precipitation. So these are my bar graphs. Remember, precipitation is a type of rain, and a circle dot represents the locations on the map, each location on the map. So this is Sitka, Alaska, this is Calgary, Canada, and this is Monterey, Mexico. Next, 7 is asking what is the independent variable or variables in this graph, and 8 is asking what are the dependent variable or variables in this graph. So, let's see. I have to find out which ones are my variables first in my graphs, and then I can categorize them into independent versus dependent variables. So, the things that are changing are my variables in my graph. It looks like the month or time is changing, the air temperature, my line graph is changing, the precipitation, the bar graphs are changing, the location, the circle dots are also changing. So now that I know my variables, the independent variables are the variables that are not impacted by other variables. So month is not impacted by air temperature or precipitation or the location. And the location is also not impacted by air temperature or precipitation or the month. So my independent variables should be the month or time and the location. So my dependent variables must be air temperature and precipitation. Those 2 things are changing, are impacted by the month or the time of the year, as well as the location we're looking at. Next, number 9. Which location has the lowest average monthly air temperature in January? So, since it's talking about January, let's start with the month of January. That's the first letter, January. And which location has the lowest monthly average air temperature? So, air temperature is, remember, is my line graph. So, I'm going to see in which location I have the lowest point of that line graph in January. So, it looks like for January in Sitka, Alaska, my air temperature, and I'm going to look on my left side of the scale because that's my air temperature. The right side is precipitation. It looks like in January for Sitka, my air temperature is less than 40 degrees. In January for Calgary, Canada, my air temperature is a little higher than 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And then in Monterey, Mexico, my air temperature in January is a little higher than 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So the lowest average monthly temperature in January is in Calgary, Canada, it's around 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So Calgary, Canada has the lowest average monthly air temperature in January. 10. Compare the average monthly air temperatures of Sitka, Alaska and Calgary, Canada during the summer months, June, July, August. So I'm looking at the air temperatures one more time, but I'm comparing these 2 locations and I'm only looking at the months of June, July, and August. And so let's see. In June, July, August for Sitka, Alaska, my air temperature is, say, close to like 50, 45, 50 if I look at just the air temperature line. And then for June, July, August in Canada, my average air temperature is higher than 60 degrees. So I would say that in the summer months, Calgary, Canada has a higher average air temperature than Sitka, Alaska. So I'm gonna make it a little shorter. Instead of saying Calgary, Canada, I'm just gonna say Calgary. So Calgary has a higher average monthly air temperature than Sitka in the summer months. Next, compare the average monthly precipitation of Calgary, Canada And Monterrey, Mexico, during the winter months, December, January, February. So I'm looking at the precipitation this time, and that's my bar graph. And I'm only going to look at my right side of my scale because that's my precipitation. And I'm only looking at the months of January, February, and December. So let's see. For Monterrey, Mexico, in January and February and December, my sorry, we're looking at precipitation. My precipitation for January, February, and December is like, and I'm looking at this side of the scale, is very close to 0. 5 would be somewhere in the middle since this is 10. Less than 5, close to 0, so maybe like around 2 inches average on average. And then for Calgary, Canada, my precipitation for January, February, and December is also less than 5, closer to 0, but on average, look at January. For January, the bar is a little higher in January. For February, the bar is a little higher than February in Calgary, Canada, than Mexico. And then December, it looks also slightly higher in December for Canada than it does in Mexico. So I'm going to say the precipitation for Calgary in the winter months is on average is higher than Monterey, Mexico. So Calgary has a higher average monthly precipitation than Monterey in the winter months. Sorry about the typo. That's about it.